Hi everyone, Lone Diceman here again. Today I'm going to be reviewing this game, The Lost Expedition. I'm going to be reviewing it from a solitaire perspective, because that's why I bought it. Although it does play 1 to 5 players, it says ages 14 and up, and it plays for 30 to 50 minutes. Very specific there, rather than 30 minutes to an hour. The theme of this game is you are explorers in the Amazon, trying to find or discover, I guess, the fabled city of El Dorado, and you're following in the footsteps of another explorer called Percy Fawcett, top name, who disappeared previously while searching for it and was never seen again. What we'll do is look at how it plays, and then I'll come back and tell you what I think. One thing I will say is that this game is quite difficult, so I'm not surprised that poor old Percy was never seen again, because there's quite a lot of dangers that you can face. So let's have a quick look. Okay, so this is the game set up to start playing. As you can see at the top here, we've got the long and arduous trail or road to El Dorado at this end. As you can see, it is very long and tortuous because it doesn't actually fit onto my playmat. And down here we have our 3 explorers. I just picked 3 at random. It just happened to be the 3 female characters. You do also get 3 male characters. This is just flavour though. What's really relevant is these symbols in the corner here, which means that they're specialists in these 3 different areas, being navigation, camping, and it's just called jungle, but I guess it's sort of fieldcraft or whatever you want to call it. So these 3 female characters again have those specialisations, and you have to have 1 of each. Each character gets 3 health. The team overall gets 3 food, and there's also 3 ammunition. Now, all of these resources are extremely scarce, and the aim of the game, as I said, is to get to El Dorado, and only 1 explorer actually has to be alive when you get there. And what you'll tend to find when you're playing is, well, when you first start, you probably get about halfway. As you learn how to push your luck and when to play safe, if you do win, at least at the moment, I've played this about, I don't know, 6 or 7 times, I can win the game, but very often you've got 1 explorer with 1 health when you're getting there, which makes the last few turns of the game really interesting, because you're trying to maximise your hand and the cards that have been dealt to give you the best chance of getting there. Because as soon as you get there, you win. You don't have to play out the rest of what's on the table. So you can arrange the cards, potentially, it just depends on what you're given, in such a way that you can just get there and live. And that's a very good part of this game. It's really interesting when you're down to those last few cards and how you arrange those cards or play the cards, or what order you can put them in and use them to get what you need. And it's a bit of a strange comparison in a way, given how light, in a way, the rule book is, for example, to make the comparison I'm about to make, because the rule book's not massively long. You know, it's some of this is not for solo rules, for example. There's other game modes, but in some ways it feels like Mage Knight. If anyone's played Mage Knight, when you've got a hand of cards and you're trying to maximise the effect of what you're trying to achieve from the cards that you have in your hand, there's a similar feeling in this game if you play that. Otherwise, it's nothing like Mage Knight, because that's a very deep game with a lot of rules. So there are 2 phases to each turn. There's a morning and evening phase, and you just turn this token over to remind you. It also reminds you at the end of each phase you have to pay 1 food. And that's just a sort of little reminder on there. So in the morning phase, on the solo game, what you do is you draw 2 cards from the deck, and in the morning phase, cards have to be arranged in number order. So these numbers in the bottom. And then what I should have done is dealt myself 6 cards actually. So you do yourself 6 cards, we'll just carry on. And you play 3 in the morning and 3 in the evening. So I'm just going to play cards, because otherwise, if I was trying to play this properly, it would take me a few minutes to work out what cards to play. So I just play a couple of cards down. So play that one again in number order, and then say this one. You then play 1 more card from the pack, and then you play 1 more from your hand. So play this. Okay. Now you'll see, if I just show you the player aid, first of all. So the symbols on the cards mean this. So if it's filled in black, you gain food, ammunition or health, or you gain jungle, navigation or camping. If it's not, then you have to spend or give up those things. Now your individual explorers have got, as I said, these expertise. So when you're required to spend one of these, you can instead take 1 health of somebody who specialises in that area, or 2 health, say for camping, from a navigation person to meet the requirement on the card. Now on the cards, you'll notice we have red boxes. Now red boxes are compulsory in that you cannot skip this card, obviously. Sometimes there's a mixture of colours. But you only have to play one of the red boxes, so one of these 3 things. Yellow boxes are absolutely compulsory. You have no choice. You have to play everything in a yellow box. And blue, which on this one, are optional. So again, you can play one of the, I believe it's one of these. I'll check the rules and I'll come back to you on that towards the end. But yeah, you can play one of these, but again, you must play every symbol in the box. So for this one, we would have to give up a navigation to move our meeple 1 square closer. So that's in a way, that is the game in a nutshell. So you look at this, you decide what you want to do. So do we want to give up 1 navigation to get a camping, which would allow us to switch cards around to our advantage. So for example, why you might want to switch cards around further up the chain here is, for example, this card here, you gain a navigation and you ignore the next card. So to be honest, that card's not great, but this card, there's nothing good really about it. So you might want to switch those cards around so you can ignore this. You don't have to give up a health anymore. You don't have to give up a jungle person's health or another card. So we would perhaps play this. So we would give up our ammunition. We would get to, this means we gain camping. So we would keep this card in our play area to spend, instead of spending a health for this person later. This is compulsory. It means we add a card onto the end of the trail. Even when it's morning, whatever you take off the deck, you just put down at the end. You don't put it in number order. And then we can spend a navigation to move our character. So let's just do that. So we spend a navigation, i.e. 1 health for the navigation expert, because we don't have any cards here that have navigation on, and move them forward. So we just discard that card. This one again, we can spend another navigation and move forward. And this is where, this one here. So this is where you're pushing your luck. Would you do that? I would suggest you wouldn't, if I'm honest, because you're likely to end up dead quite soon. So you might take this, gives you 1 health back. So I actually probably would do that because we've moved and we've got the health back there. So again, we discard that. The peccary gives us 1 navigation. It allows us to ignore the nightshade, which we want to ignore. Then we have to play one of these red boxes as well, because wherever there's red box, you have to play 1. Even though we've played this, we do have to play this. So we give up 1 food, we can shoot it and get 2 food, or we can give up a jungle and get 2 food. Let's shoot it. You wouldn't burn through your ammunition quite so readily, perhaps, if you were playing the game. But that's what we're going to do. Because you can see ammunition cards are quite relatively common, because we've got another one come up now. So with this one, we can give up a health and an ammunition and move forward. We can kill one of our characters and move forward. Seems a bit extreme, but again, if you were on the last card here, you had 2 explorers alive, you might want to do that to win the game. But as it is, we can give up 1 health and then we can have a navigation and a camping. So we may as well take 1 from, say, the camping person, and again put that into our hand. Last one, skip a card. There's nothing on the end. We have to give up a jungle, which we don't have as a card, so we'll give up a jungle here, but we get 2 health. So we don't have to, but we can. So we give up a health, but we get 2 health back, so give 1 back to her and say 1 to her. And then we have to add a card on the end if we are playing the blue box, which is a pretty horrible card in a way. Whereas we may as well give up, well, actually it's not too bad. We'll give up a food and we'll take a navigation. So that's the morning phase. The afternoon, or the evening phase I should say, is we have our 3 cards in our hand that we already had. And what we do here is we play a card, so let's play that one, and then we decide, do we play another card from our hand or do we play some off of the deck? So for example, if you had a card that had this symbol on, I get rid of the next card doesn't apply, you might play that down and then play this from your hand because you don't want to give up a health and a food because you may be very low on both of those things. So the evening phase allows you, if I should flip over evening and take our food off, the evening phase allows you to tactically, as much as you can at least, play your cards that you have left against the ones in the deck. So this is just for assuming these are both out of my hand, just discard one of the other cards then. You can play one, and then again, when I play the one from here, I could decide where I want to put that. So if I want to put it at the beginning or the end of the trail. So let's just put it there, play one more from here. So for food, I can have a camping. So for example, you might put that at the beginning because you need camping here. So you can pay a food and have this in your hand. And then when you get to this, you don't have to give up health from your camping person. You can play this instead and get your 2 food that are on this card here as an option. So that's the gameplay. You carry on playing through morning and evening phases until everyone dies, which is the not necessarily the most likely outcome once you've got some experience, but you know can happen quite a bit. Or one person is left alive at least, and you get to El Dorado. So let's go back to the table, and I'll tell you what I think. I really like the cards. They're oversized. They're the same sort of size as Dixit cards if you played that. It really makes the art pop. I really like the artwork. It kind of reminds me of Tintin or sort of 1950s style adventure comics, and it's very evocative. I don't know if you can see that. So there's some piranha. There's all sorts of nasty things in here as well that can happen to your poor old explorers on their way through, like jaguars coming out of the place and taking a bite out of them, scorpions, monkeys, quite friendly, those kinds of things. One thing I would say about the cards is the size of them, which you'll probably see now as I'm trying to do this, does make them quite difficult to shuffle and deal with, and I would recommend sleeving them as I have done here, because when they're not sleeved, it's difficult to explain exactly. They're not sticky in the sense that obviously that they're covered in something sticky, but around the edge of them, I'm not sure what, smaller than a millimetre, but it's almost like they're slightly domed at the edge, and it makes them very difficult to, you can't do this very easily with them when they're not, so like, shuffle through them. They'd stick together, you'd have like 3 or 4 stuck together. Minor criticism, but it's just to be honest, that's the only criticism I would make of this game. Overall, I'd really recommend this game, particularly as a solo experience. I have to admit, I've not played it with in any other mode. There is a cooperative mode, and there's also a head-to-head mode as well. So you get quite a lot in the box from that point of view if you want to explore those modes. But as a solo game, it works brilliantly because you have that push your luck element. You are making decisions every time you play a card. You're making a decision. Do you take some health to move forward? Do you spend your food to get that resource? Do you spend your ammo to get that resource? How do you balance it between spending the precious resources that you have to move forward and to gain resources from the cards as well? There's a lot of decisions that you need to make, which makes the game really interesting, and that because no 2 games will be the same from that point of view, because of the way that the cards come down. The decisions that you're required to make will be different, because you can look forward into the cards that are out and think, well, I can see I've got this issue coming up in 3 to 4 cards time. How can I mitigate that? What do I do? Can I mitigate that? A lot of the time you can't, but you're aware of that, so you don't. Whilst you can't mitigate it, you can make sure it's not a complete disaster by spending the same resource you're going to lose quite a bit of earlier in the train. Very good game, thoroughly recommended as a solo experience. So that's the Lost Expedition from Osprey Games.